I want to use pesticide for example to explain to you the bad effects of those chemicals and how we can use them smartly in agriculture. A pesticide is to control the unwanted living organisms. I underline this word unwanted. Unwanted by human doesn't mean unwanted by nature. We can get rid of the good stuff too. The pesticides can be categorized in 4 kinds. One is insecticides, fungicides, rodenticides, and herbicides. They target different living organisms. I want to use DDT as one example. And it used to be very popular 70 years ago after the World War II. And because of the malaria problems and a lot of people died by being bitten by the mosquitoes because they carry a lot of diseases. So at that time they invented this chemical and it's proven fantastic. Okay, it kills the bugs, it kills the mosquitoes. So this is how massive people use, and they say DDT is good for me. But it was soon banned in the United States in 1972 because people find this chemical is persistent. Look at the structure here. It's very hydrophilic chemical structure. It means it's more soluble in the fat than in the water. Okay. And it's very persistent, half-life 10 to 15 years. That's a long time. If you put 1 ton of this thing in the environment, after 15 years, half ton is still in the environment. And another 15 years pass by, you still have like 1/4 of tons of the chemicals. And you can think after several rounds, okay, after 100 years, you still have some chemicals lingering in the environment. And you don't want that to happen. The DDT was found to make the bird eggshells to be extra thinner. So the bird population greatly dropped, and many of them are endangered because of this problem. And also, it's like omnipresent. Okay, DDT was found in Arctic and Antarctic area. And I want you to think why we don't have a crop field in Arctic area and the DDT can be carried that far away. For humans, the DDT structure, not the chemical formulation. The 3D structure, DDT, it resembles the structure of the hormones. So it causes a bunch of health issues to humans. Bioaccumulation that means the process of accumulating higher and higher amounts of material within an organism's body. So we are talking about one individual. Okay, for example, the phytoplankton has DDT in it, and the shrimp keep eating the phytoplankton, and the concentration of the DDT in the shrimp will keep increasing. That's called bioaccumulation. Biomagnification, that means the increase of the concentration in the bodies of higher trophic level organisms. That means when you go higher in the food chain or the food web, the effects of the chemical is manifested. Okay, now we're not comparing individual shrimps, shrimp A and shrimp B. We are comparing shrimp and the fish and the birds and the human. We are comparing different trophic levels. And the higher the level is, the much higher the concentration of the chemical will be. DDT, mercury, and the PCBs are all known to accumulate in ecosystems. Now it's even worse, right? They do not degrade, they do not disappear, and they reach a dangerous high level. For example, this is the DDT concentration in ppm. If we look at the phytoplankton here, 0.04. So this is the producer and this is primary consumer claim. When we measure the concentration, it's 0.42. It's about 10-fold increase, right? Just comparing the closest level, trophic levels. If you go higher and higher, eventually look at these ring-billed birds. It could accumulate to 75.5. 75.5 divided by 0.005. You can calculate how many fold increase the increase of the DDT is. So in the discussion board, please practice this and realize the concentration of those harmful chemicals can be magnified many folds through the food chain and the food web. Eventually it reaches human, right? So imagine how bad that is for human. And those chemicals are more soluble in fat tissues. That means they can go into other fat tissues in our body. So what tissues in our body are made of fat? Brains, right? All the skins, and some of the organs, and some parts of our body are made by fat. So those chemicals can be accumulated in our fat tissues. That's why it's got banned worldwide. People ask to ban it worldwide, but I think some regions of the world we're still using that. But in the United States, it's banned already. So the problems with the pesticides is persistence problem, the resistance problem. We are building up, we're breeding superbugs and super weeds by spraying tons of those chemicals again and again to the plants, to the animals. And most pesticides are not species specific. That means it can kill beneficial species such as natural predators and parasitic insects. We'll have an Anneberg practice on this. This is really fun. Insecticides may change the population structure. A species not previously a problem may become a serious pest. See, the balancing of the ecosystem is really important. We had a lab before. And about 10 years ago, the genetic modified organism was really popular. We have those scientific magazines discussing how fabulous they are and their characteristics. Usually we are building those super crops for our benefits, like insect resistant and not impacted by the chemicals and have much higher yields, etc., etc. And the majority of the corn and the soybean in the United States is GMO. And we build some super crops to combat the pests also, resistant to the herbicides. But GMOs are creating resistant weeds and insects through natural selection. And some of the scientific research saying GMO is harmful, but majority of them are safe. Okay, so this is showing the tumors the mice were fed by the GMO crops. And GMO could be really cool. They incorporate those fluorescent genes into the mouse. You can see the mouse, some parts of them can glow in the dark, and the fluorescence. What is organic food? Organic food, definitely no GMO. No synthetic pesticides. Actually, a small percentage of very tiny pesticides are allowed for the crop production, but not those synthetic ones. Think about why. And no herbicides, and no sewage sludge, and no GMOs, no antibiotics. So organic food is much more safer to produce and to consume. And the nutrition are comparable. There's no significant difference in organic food and the natural food. This is the second part of my lecture.